What if your favorite superhero returned as a villain? Meet Avengers Doomsday. Hey, it's Leah, feeling curious today and can't wait to dive into this topic.
I'm Garrett, and I'm totally excited about today's topic.
Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
All right, let's set the stage for this one. Today's topic is Avengers Doomsday, a huge ensemble film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that brings multiple universes together against one villain. It's set to release in December 2026, and it sets up Avengers Secret Wars in 2027. Quick story before we get deep. I was at San Diego Comic-Con in 2024, sitting there buzzing on caffeine and crowd energy, and the stage fills with people dressed as Dr. Doom. Masks, cloaks, the whole vibe. Then one Doom steps forward, unmasks, and it's Robert Downey Jr. The room went supernova. You could feel this collective gasp and then cheers that rattled your ribs. It was the wildest pivot I've seen, like the MCU flipping a switch in real time.
That's so wild. I love a dramatic reveal done right. I mean, Robert Downey Jr., the face of Iron Man for a decade, stepping in as Victor Von Doom. It's like a narrative magic trick. Same actor, entirely different center of gravity. I bet people were hugging strangers in that crowd. Let's open the book on this. Avengers Doomsday is an upcoming Marvel film that uses a multiverse premise. The multiverse, in simple terms, is a set of parallel universes that can cross paths. Here, that idea lets the film pull heroes from different realities into one story. It's part of Phase 6, which is the chunk of Marvel projects that wraps up the multiverse saga.
It's positioned as the direct sequel to Avengers Endgame, set in 2028 and happening about 14 months after Thunderbolt's star. The directors are Anthony and Joe Russo, the same duo behind Infinity War and Endgame. The writers are Michael Waldron, who has multiverse chops from Loki, and Stephen McFeely, who co-wrote the earlier Avengers heavy hitters. Alan Silvestri is back for the score, so the musical DNA links straight to the Infinity Saga.
Cast-wise, the headline is Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. Doom, also called Victor Von Doom, is one of Marvel's most iconic villains, a genius ruler and sorcerer from Latveria in the comics. The film unites teams like the Avengers and New Avengers from Earth 616, Wakandans from Black Panther's world, the Fantastic Four from a different universe labeled Earth 828, and a version of the original X-Men from yet another reality. It is a true crossover tapestry.
Imagine it like a massive team project where everyone from different departments shows up with their own tools. Thor from the Asgardian side, Shuri as Black Panther representing Wakanda, Reed Richards, the scientist leader of the Fantastic Four, and Professor X leading X-Men veterans. All in one room, trying to solve the same existential problem.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The original plan for this Avengers chapter centered on Kang the Conqueror. Back in July 2022, Marvel announced the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars to conclude the multiverse saga. Then, Jonathan Majors, who played Kang, faced legal issues in 2023 and was later fired in December 2023. That triggered a big creative pivot away from a Kang-centric storyline.
Right, and that pivot is how we arrive at Doomsday. By early 2024, both Avengers 5 and Secret Wars were being rewritten to minimize or remove Kang. The studio explored alternatives and gravitated toward Dr. Doom as the saga's apex-level antagonist. That choice also aligned with long-standing fan dreams about Secret Wars-style collisions. Think universes literally smashing together into one conflict zone.
Why Doom, though, beyond the pivot? Like, why is he the right puzzle piece here?
Doom plugs into both science and mysticism, so he can believably mess with reality-scale stakes, and he ties straight to the Fantastic Four, which opens doors to cross-team storytelling. Also, Kevin Feige, who is Marvel Studios' president, framed the move as pairing the MCU's most iconic hero actor with Marvel's most iconic villain. That is a headline that writes itself.
The Russos' return matters too. Anthony and Joe Russo already proved they can juggle a massive ensemble in Infinity War and Endgame. Stephen McFeely, who co-wrote those, teamed with Michael Waldron, who built Loki's time and multiverse rules. They are producing Doomsday and Secret Wars in coordination, not shooting them back to back, which gives them flexibility while keeping continuity tight.
and Downey reportedly said he would return only if the Russos came back to direct. That set the table for the big SDCC 2024 reveal. He's approaching Doom with a heavily accented voice and reportedly contributed ideas to Doom's backstory and costume. The directors describe this Doom as immensely powerful, yet complex and vulnerable. So not just a brute force villain, more of a chess player with scars.
The multiverse angle also legitimizes legacy casting from the Fox-era X-Men films. That is how you get Patrick Stewart as Professor X and Ian McKellen as Magneto sharing space with MCU regulars. James Marsden as Cyclops, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, Rebecca Romijn as Mystique. All of that folds under a Secret Wars-style collision idea that dates back to the 1980s comics event by Jim Shooter and a later 2015 version too.
And just to clarify terms, Earth 616 is the mainline MCU continuity. Earth 828 is the Fantastic Four's universe here, and the X-Men arrive from a separate universe where the original lineup is intact. That mapping is how Marvel can unite different tones and histories in one coherent threat framework without hand-waving the continuity.
Plot-wise, the premise is simple to say, hard to survive. Heroes across worlds feel the edges of reality wearing thin. They converge against Doom, who sits at the eye of the storm. That means the Avengers and New Avengers, the Wakandans, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men end up in the same battles. That is a lot of leadership styles in one war room.
Chris Evans returning as Steve Rogers is a big emotional anchor. He once said he would only come back for a compelling reason. The directors say the heroes need Steve now. Teasers show him holding a baby, and convention footage shows him wielding Mjolnir again. It signals that his return is not a wink. It is central to the response to Doom.
There is also a casting debate that cannot be ignored. Doom's comic heritage involves Romani roots. Some fans and commentators criticized casting a non-Romani actor in the role. Coverage called the responses mixed. There was elation at Downey's return and concern about cultural authenticity. That tension has continued in the discourse around the film.
On the ensemble texture, Channing Tatum is Gambit, and he said he will not go full Cajun with the accent. A deliberate tone choice to keep things serious rather than jokey caricature. Simu Liu said Shang-Chi appears older and more self-assured now, which fits the time jump. And Tom Hiddleston notes that Loki's series continuity is the starting line for his appearance here.
Behind the scenes, Alan Cumming said Nightcrawler's makeup now takes about an hour and a half, down from 4 to 5 hours back in X2. He described the Doomsday experience as healing compared to the old process. Dropping individually applied tattoos speeds it up. That small process change makes a huge difference when you are juggling an ensemble.
Marketing has been a ride. Marvel did a nearly 5.5-hour live stream revealing directors' chairs with cast names every 12 minutes, scored with relevant tracks, and capped it with Downey and the Avengers theme. It set view records, hit hundreds of millions of views in a day, and dominated social chatter. It was a slow-burn stunt that kept people glued to the screen.
Next came in-theater micro-teasers attached to Avatar. Week by week, the tone was somber and focused on children and family. Steve with a baby, Thor praying to Odin about returning to his adopted daughter Love, an X-Men piece with a ruined school, and a Wakanda and Talokan focus that included Shuri, M'Baku, and a meeting with Ben Grimm, the Thing from the Fantastic Four. It built emotion before spectacle.
They even did a Doom-themed coffee pop-up in London called Dom Latveria Coffee. Plus, a marketing installation in China referenced a gnarly Secret Wars comic moment where Doom rips the skeleton from Thanos. Not saying that is in the movie, but they made a point of showing Doom at full terror level. Also, Franklin Richards, the child of Reed and Sue in the comics, keeps popping up in emphasis. That fuels speculation about his importance here.
There is also some uncertainty floating around about whether Ryan Reynolds shows up as Deadpool in this specific film. Reports have been mixed, so that one stays in the rumor box for now. Meanwhile, Marvel kept one casting secret with Wesley Holloway in an undisclosed role, which only adds to the guessing game. Let's talk tone and where this sits emotionally. Commentators noticed that the teasers lean serious. There is less quipping and more weight. Some say this is Marvel reaching back to re-engage casual fans who drifted after Downey and Evans stepped away. Nostalgia is a tool here, but it is paired with images of guardianship and legacy that feel earned, not just a retread.
On the tech side, here is a twist. Doomsday does not have US IMAX access for at least 3 weeks because Dune Part 3 holds those screens. So Disney and Marvel leaned hard into other premium large formats, often called PLFs. That means Dolby Vision, ScreenX, D-Box, and 4DX, which are enhanced theaters with bigger screens, better projection, or motion effects in the seats, depending on the brand.
They even created an Infinity Vision certification to highlight the best of those non-IMAX premium setups. The idea is to guide people to the biggest, brightest experiences with standards that keep the launch feeling special. It is a clever reframing. If the usual giant rooms are busy, build your own velvet rope.
And it worked out in early numbers. The full trailer did about 503 million views in 24 hours, which is Disney's biggest trailer debut. Then premium format advanced ticket sales hit about $16.5 million in the first day without IMAX. That is more than double Deadpool and Wolverine's comparable pre-sales. About 1,000 premium sites sold out many opening shows.
Production-wise, principal photography ran April through September 2025 under the working title Apple Pie 1. They shot at Pinewood Studios in England, plus Bahrain and Windsor Great Park. The team includes production designer Gavin Bouquet, cinematographer Newton Thomas Sigel, and costume designer Judiana Makovsky. Jeffrey Ford is editing, and the Russos planned a healthy round of additional photography in early 2026 to fine-tune character intersections. All signs of a big, coordinated machine.
Release is set for December 2026 in more than 4,000 US theaters. It is a penultimate chapter for the multiverse saga, with Avengers Secret Wars following in December 2027. Think of Doomsday as the pressure cooker that sets up the final plate.
Let's not let this one slide by. The Romani representation question around Doom. The comics have often written the character with Romani heritage, and critics argue that authenticity matters in casting, especially for communities that are underrepresented or stereotyped. For some, this choice stings even if the performance is great, because it feels like a missed chance to bring that heritage on screen with specificity.
I hear that, for sure. I also see the studio's calculus. Pairing Downey with the Russos is a stability move after a rocky box office stretch. It is a bet that he can differentiate Doom from Tony Stark with a new voice, a new posture, and that vulnerable yet dangerous psychology the Russos keep emphasizing. It does not erase the representation concern. It just explains the choice from a franchise strategy angle.
Real talk. Both things can be true at once. You can want cultural specificity and also be interested to see how he plays the role. I keep thinking about the accent and the backstory input he reportedly brought. If those choices honor the character's roots without slipping into caricature, that helps. But consultation and inclusion behind the camera matter too.
Do you think audiences will see Tony Stark when they look at Doom? Or can the character work win out?
Early on, people probably will see Tony in their heads. That is just muscle memory. But the teasers hint at a different rhythm. The accent, the stillness, the menace. If the writing gives Doom a clear life apart from Stark, and the performance leans into mythic intellect mixed with wounds, I think the mask becomes its own mirror. The audience adjusts when the story earns it.
Why does the accent matter so much here?
Because voice is identity. An accent can signal a different history and value system. It also helps audiences separate Doom from Stark in an instant. The key is respect, a textured approach that feels like a person from somewhere, not a cartoon of a culture. Pop culture impact-wise, that SDCC stage stunt with multiple Dooms and Downey unmasking is going to live in highlight reels. The 5.5-hour chair reveal livestream became a meme factory. It reminded me of those slow-burn event stunts, like waiting for ice to melt to reveal a date. The trailer then hitting about 500 million views in a day is a flex that says the crossover era still has cards to play.
What if Jonathan Majors had not been fired and the Kang storyline stayed the course? The obvious difference is we would likely have the Kang Dynasty as the fifth Avengers film, with Destin Daniel Cretton directing and Jeff Loveness writing, at least as initially planned. The narrative spine would center on time conquest and variance rather than a Doom-led multiversal convergence.
That could mean fewer Fox-era X-Men faces on screen because the story engine would be Kang's timeline war rather than world collisions that justify big cross-franchise mixing. The tone might also skew differently. Kang as a futurist tyrant versus Doom as a mythic sovereign. It is a distinct flavor of threat, like comparing a chess clock to a throne room.
And without the Doom pivot, I am not sure we get the Russos returning or Downey returning as a villain. Evans coming back as Steve might also be a different calculus, maybe still possible, but it would hang on whether that story needed a moral center from a different era. The marketing would look different too, probably less emphasis on children and legacy, more on the paradoxes of time and consequence.
And the format play could shift. If dates had not moved, the IMAX competition window might be different, maybe no need for Infinity Vision branding, but that is a lot of dominoes. What we can say is the actual path gave Marvel a chance to lean into Secret Wars-style collisions and tap deep nostalgia while reframing the endgame of the multiverse saga.
And that's a wrap for today, folks.
Stay curious and join us next time on Laid Back Learning.